Welcome to The Soul Space, the podcast that inspires you to discover your truth, ignite your passion, and align your life with the power of who you really are. I'm Georgia Rose, psychic astrologer. I share the cosmic roadmap that guided me through astrology, tarot, and inner knowing into authentic living. I'm here to help you decode your soul's cosmic story, reconnect with your passion, and create the life you are meant to live. It all starts within, and it all starts now in the soul space. Hi, everybody. It must be Monday night at 7 because here I am in the soul space. I am so excited for 2026. This is my first show of 2026. You guys know I've been doing this a couple of years, and every year has its own energy. And 2026 is a year that I am really excited about for the first time in several years, because when I started to look, there you go. Happy New Year. Thanks, Bobby. My producer, Bobby, always is right on there. So when I looked at all the charts for 2026, I was really pleased to know that almost everyone, regardless of your sun sign, rising sign, or moon sign, has really great energy in their charts for 2026, which is nice because we have had quite a few years of, some real challenges for most of us. But yet there are a lot of things. We're going to see a lot of changes globally, and of course, some personally. But everything that happens this year is really for empowerment. And I have to say, wherever you are and whoever you are right now at the beginning of the year, you will be completely different at the end of this year. So we have an emergence of a lot of new energy, a lot of new realities. So we're going to see things being very different from what they are right now. And we'll go into that in a little more detail. But first, you guys know, I start every podcast out with the cosmic comedy, because we take ourselves way too seriously here in the world. And I know that you've all been making New Year's resolutions, and I'll bet a lot of you have been making that resolution about going to the gym. So here's a little thing about what each sign does when they get to the gym. It's time for Cosmic Comedy, where Mercury retrograde is the main character, the lunations are loony, and the stars are a punchline.
Jump squats right here. This is just the warm-up, so don't go too hard. Just pretend you're nervous. One revolution is good enough. You only want to kick one leg. So like a squat. See, so each sign has their own way of exercising and also breaking their resolutions. Now, I hope you guys made your resolutions on the full moon in Cancer, which was Saturday, because if you made them before then on Friday or New Year's Day, which was, I think, Thursday, you're probably going to break them because we had a Gemini moon then. And usually when resolutions and promises are made on a Gemini moon, we break them. It's like get back on the horse. So you're probably going to have a lot of lessons in resiliency this year if you made your resolutions on the first. But if you waited till Saturday, like I instructed on my social media, hope you're all subscribed, then you knew to wait till the full moon in Cancer. So my voice is a little hard today. I came to the studio, and actually, for those of you who are not millennials, I sounded like Greg Brady in the episode where his voice was changing. I woke up this morning totally fine, and by 3 o'clock today, I had no voice. So you'll have to bear with me tonight, okay? So I don't think I'm sick, though, because I don't have a fever or anything. So send me some good energy, guys. I've got the hot tea. I've got the cold water. I think I'll be good for the next 40 minutes or so. So let's get down to business with the astrology. So we had the beautiful Cancer full moon on Saturday, January 3rd. And that full moon is setting off the tone for the whole year because it was a full moon in Cancer right up against the planet Jupiter, which expands and amplifies all the energy. But the really cool thing about the way that the energy is starting off this year is we have a series of planets all bunched up together in a lineup in Capricorn, which gives us structure, responsibility, discipline, which is a great way to start the new year. With Jupiter right next to that moon opposing those planets, because Cancer and Capricorn oppose each other, what that Jupiter energy did is it's pulling out the Sun in Capricorn, the Venus energy in Capricorn, Mercury in Capricorn, and Mars in Capricorn, and taking all of that energy and amplifying it. So what's all that energy about? Well, Mars in Capricorn gives us the structure and motivation in order to make our goals a reality. Mercury is our minds and the way we communicate those goals and gives us the verbiage and the communication that we need to make them a reality. And then, of course, the sun is our life force. So, with Jupiter pulling on all those planets, it's really giving us some great energy to be productive and to really maybe get together those things that we've been trying to get together for the last few years. And we keep having restarts and redos. Now, that energy is really going to be able to move forward in 2026. And so that set the tone for the whole year. But that lineup of planets we have, and Venus is also in Capricorn, which is an energy that makes us kind of attached in a good way to discipline, structure, climbing that mountain. You know, Capricorn is that mountain goat. But also, what Venus does in that sign is it gives us the ability to observe and reach a peak or a pinnacle in our growth, our evolution, and then be able to look down to see where we've been in order to bring that wisdom up forward to the rest of the mountain climb. So it's a really great energy to shape what we want our year to look like. And as I said, the emergence of new realities and new energy is going to be accelerated and very, very powerful this year. So having that energy for all of us individually at the beginning of the year is really, really great. So what you want to do is look and see where the Cancer is in your chart, what house. And of course, that house will determine the area of life that the Cancer energy, that Jupiter energy is pulling all of that beautiful Capricorn planets into your life in whatever house Cancer is in. For me, that's my 7th and 8th house, which is about relationships and also about transformation. It's about resources, things like that. So you can see how this full moon on January 3rd, and the reason I'm talking about it today, which is the 6th or the 5th, is because it set the tone for the whole year. Because that lineup of planets, even though they're going to move at different speeds, for a little while, they'll all be kind of jumbled up together in Capricorn. But they're going to start to move to Aquarius. And when they do, they go over Pluto, which is the very beginning of Aquarius right now. And when those planets in that planet lineup, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, Mars, all go through over Pluto, it's going to bring out our soul's desire and the things that we really want to accomplish in our life. It's going to make very clear and bring clarity to the things that we truly want to do, that we would love to do, that are our passion, and give us the structure that we need to accomplish it. So you can see how this year is a very different year than in the past, when we've had a lot of cloudy energy, a lot of energy made up of redoing and introspection and regurgitating old wounds and doing work to do healing and all these kinds of things. This year is when the energy really moves forward. So January isn't just the start of a new year. It's the energetic blueprint for everything that unfolds in 2026. And I'll be here on the Soul Space and in my YouTube and all of my social media, giving you guidance every step of the way for everything that's going to happen in 2026 and beyond. So it's a very powerful year. The transits are going to call us into clarity, courage, and alignment with our soul's next chapter. Now, on a global level, you're going to see that this is going to create a tremendous amount of energy, like we just saw with the Venezuela. And, you know, we're not political on this show. So you're going to see, if you look at that, what it really is about boundaries shifting, power shifting. And we're going to see a lot of that in the globe from this energy throughout 2026. You're going to see a lot of countries, you know, change boundaries, change borders. You're going to see a lot of unification. You're going to see also a lot of exclusion. But you're also going to see a lot of power dynamics shift, especially anything that's a top-down type of structure, government, educational program, community, religious, cultural thing, where all that top-down stuff is going to almost be reversed. So that by the time we get to 2027, we're going to see a more independent, more individual emphasis on power. It's going to be, okay, I live in this country and this might be the government or this might be the culture I was brought up in, but what does my soul journey look like? What are the things that I really want to shape with my life? And we're going to be really super in touch with that desire for the individual, and also a lot more diversification, a lot more diversity in the acceptance of each other. So these are really great things, but as you guys know, getting to those things sometimes is quite a challenge, because not everyone in the world is full of compassion and empathy, or even the wisdom needed to be able to do the inner work and the self-study. So we've got major planetary movements shaping up January. I'm going to give you guys some dates to look for during the month so that you know how to really best use the energy. January 6th, which is tomorrow, this is being broadcast January 5th, or whenever you're looking at this, January 6th, the sun conjuncts Venus in Capricorn. Now, when the sun conjuncts Venus, when we say conjunct, that means the planets are right close together. Think of being in a tight elevator with the sun and Venus, right? Think of being in a tightly packed elevator with different personalities and what would emerge from that. That's what you have to think about when planets are all bunched together somewhere. They're all like in this tight little spot in the zodiac, all with an energy and an archetype. And now which is more powerful and which is going to come forward and what's going to come out of the energy, right? So when the sun meets Venus in the sky, this is what we call a cazimi. When the sun meets anything, it's a cazimi. We usually have Mercury cazimi when it goes into the sun. But what it is it's a time when the energy of the planets are heightened because, of course, the sun casts light on everything. So Venus is not just the planet of love. Venus is the planet of what we desire, what we truly are passionate about. So it could be a situation, it could be a geographic location, it could be a structure or something that we really want to do in our life. Venus makes that come to the surface and makes us aware and brings clarity to those things. So on a day like the 6th, and the energy always lasts a little while, when the sun conjuncts Venus, it's a great day to speak your truth because your real passion is going to come forward. It's also a great time to maybe journal or sit and really be in contemplation about those resolutions, about what the direction of your life is. Because Venus is going to bring out the passion and the things that are really meant to be your desire. And sometimes when we think about what we want to do, it's very heavily influenced by the things around us or social media or influencers, right? So when we have Venus right there against the sun, which is our life force and our energy, it gives us an opportunity to really go deep and be authentic about the things we desire without influence. And so it's a really great place. And with the sun and Venus in Capricorn, which is an energy of wherever Capricorn is in the chart, it's the energy of our conditioning. How did we grow up? What were we taught to be like that maybe isn't in alignment with what we're really like, right? Maybe you grew up in a very strict religious household, but you're a free spirit. Or maybe you grew up in a culture where, there's a lot of male domination and that's really not your style, So we're conditioned to do certain things through our cultures and our youth and our growing up ways when our brain is being formed. And Capricorn is the sign where we overcome the way that we are seen by the world and we embrace our own individuality. So in Capricorn, we find the responsibility to accept what we need to in order to step up and make change where change is most in alignment with us, where it's most authentic. So let me look and see what I have in my comments. Say hi to everybody. I'm going to say hi to everybody tonight. Hey, Trisha. Hey, Sarah, Stephanie. Thank you guys for tuning in. Glad to see you guys here in our Zencuda community. I have Stephanie on, who's actually Yvonne, but she's on her daughter's phone. Get it? Hey, Margaret's on. Happy New Year, Margaret. I don't think Margaret's usually on live with us. This is great. Hey, Margaret's on tonight. And we've got Nancy. Nancy always is on whenever I remember to send her the link. And I've got Aaron, my old buddy. Aaron's in Texas. Hope the weather there is really good. And I've got Joanne also. Great. So everybody, welcome to the Soul Space. Let's send out some love for everybody. Going to send up some hearts. And we are just sending healing and great energy for a brand new year for everybody. So this is really cool. So definitely tomorrow, set your wishes, set your intentions, because that sun and Venus in Capricorn really gives us the clarity we need to be authentic with ourselves. And then on January 9th, the same thing happens with Mars. So we've got the sun and Venus and Mars all in, a tight little orb or degrees, as we call them in the zodiac. Each zodiac sign has 30 degrees. And so with the sun and Venus and Mars coming together, that is the cherry on top of this beautiful energy, because Mars gives us the energy, the ambition, the assertion to move it all forward. Now, the downside of that energy, or the lower energy of that, is that when Mars enters the mix on January 9th with the sun and Venus, Mars can also be aggression. It's the god of war. So remember, the sun's lighting it up. Venus is showing it its desire. So they can also make people very egoic, and they can, kind of be like, I want what I want and I want it now, and putting their life force behind that. So you can see how this year holds a lot of benevolent energy, a lot of energy for empowerment. But if someone is not evolved into a higher energy, it can also be very aggressive and warlike. So we're going to see how that plays out on the global stage. And that's why I say you're going to see a lot of boundaries change, a lot of borders change, and a lot of power dynamics change. I think that what we saw on Saturday was just the beginning of those type of things happening. So all of this stuff is still activating that moon in Cancer. Now the moon is in Leo. It's going to travel, through the houses. The moon changes signs about every 2 days or so. But this is an opportunity for us to really come into our own authenticity and also our vulnerability. And that's why Cancer and Capricorn are such great energies when they work together, because Cancer brings out our vulnerability, but Capricorn makes us take responsibility for it. So, for example, I just was talking about this to someone the other day. I've been setting boundaries, and I've been setting boundaries in a really healthy, loving way, and I've been sticking to them. And I said to someone, when we don't keep our boundaries and then we end up doing something like, going to a lunch we don't really want to go to, or doing a project that we really got sucked into doing. We really didn't want to do it, but we didn't set our boundary. And usually what happens is we will vilify the person that we're blaming for that. Like the person that, made us go to lunch, in quotes, or demanded we did something and we didn't want to do it. And then we start going in our head about every single time that person did this to us, and this person's a pain in the ass, and et cetera, et cetera. But the truth is, you're the pain in the ass. Because if you would just keep your boundary and stand up and say, no, I don't want to go to lunch, or no, I'm not really interested in that project, then you'd be fine, you'd be liberated, and you wouldn't be in that place. So that's Capricorn. It gives us the power to take responsibility. And you guys know, if you watch the show, that my definition of responsibility is respond to your ability. We all have it. We just have to respond to it. But instead, we go into avoidance, we go into procrastination, we go into the path of least resistance. So Capricorn gives us the responsibility to take control of our life and set the boundaries we need to set so that we're living in peace and we're undisturbable. I like to use another word there, but I won't on the show. So that's setting off this year. So set your boundaries, become undisturbable, because we've got a beautiful energy here that's going to help us do that. And think about what's really authentic to you. If you don't want to do the things that you feel being pushed into or being, repressed and suppressed into doing, restricted into doing, don't do them. Free yourself. We've got that energy. Then on the 11th, we have, I just got to read my notes. So those planets that I was just talking about, the Sun and Mercury, the Sun and Mars and Venus, they will all square Chiron, which just went direct. Chiron is the planet of our the wounded healer. It's the planet of the wounds we bring into our lifetime. So can you see where I'm going with all this? Take responsibility for your own healing. Take responsibility to make the changes, set the boundaries you need to set. This energy is perfect for that. We'll be in this energy until about the 17th or so of January. So use it to our advantage. Okay. And then just remember that vulnerability that we feel when we get aggravated or we get angry or we feel like someone's really, stepped on us. That vulnerability, it requires authenticity. We can blame another person forever, but in truth, like, we made the decision to be that way. We made the decision to do something we really didn't want to do. So Sherry says this is exactly what she's been saying 2026 is going to be for her personally. You always people please, and not going to do that anymore. I love that, Sherry. Great. We are going to be here to support you and root you on. So wonderful, wonderful. So let's go on. So then what happens is we have something that starts to occur around the 17th of January, which is a very, very powerful, powerful time this month. So January 20th, it starts around the 17th because that's an energy where Venus enters Aquarius. So now this lineup of planets is starting to, get a little bit apart from each other. Some of it will go from Capricorn to Aquarius energy. And Aquarius is where Pluto is right now in the beginning degrees. I think Pluto's at like 3 or 4 degrees of Aquarius. So what happens is when that starts to work itself in January 17th, we've got the planets moving. We've got Venus entering Aquarius now. Saturn is sextiling Uranus. Mars is sextiling Uranus. What does all that mean in English? Well, it means that around between January 17th to the 20th, it's going to be really watch what happens in your personal life and in globally, because those are going to be the signs to come. That is going to show you the signs to come. You're going to see a lot of reactions. This is, watch what happens, because this is a reaction to lies, to deception, and to the gravity that we've been feeling in the world for the last few years. This is a year where that is going to become very, very exposed, and there's going to be little tolerance for that. The same with those type of situations in our personal lives. So around the 17th to the 20th of January, a lot of things are going to be revealed and exposed with those planets entering new territory. Saturn is the structure. When it has a conversation with Uranus, which is sudden, shocking change, structures will change. You're going to see a lot of dynamics and things that are the structures in our lives, the containers that we've built our lives around, our homes, our schools, our relationships, our places we live, our, communities, our clubs, our friend groups, anything that is a structure and a container to which you live. You will see it now if there's been anything deceptive in that coming to life. And it starts off with this energy in January. Now, if you have things in your life that are beautiful and authentic and you've worked on them and they're in a good place, then there's not going to be anything to, be revealed or react to, because they're honest and authentic. But this is a year where honesty and authenticity really come into play. So that's what will happen. So now on the 17th, that starts that energy of Venus starts to move into Aquarius. But then we've got the Sun, Mercury, Venus, Mars, and Pluto all together in one big lineup between the last degrees of Capricorn and the beginning degrees of Aquarius. This is very changeable energy. This is very changeable energy. I have all these notes because it's the beginning of a new year. This is energy that brings in change, because the planets, all the major planets going from one sign to another in a very brief amount of time. And when that happens, it changes the energy, and you're going to feel the energy shift drastically. And what's happening with all those planets bunched up in one part of the chart where Capricorn and Aquarius is, it forms like a bowl. Think of like a big U, right? Because the zodiac, the planet is round. The galaxy is basically round around the Earth. So think of a bowl, like a U-shaped bottom of a bowl. All of those planets are in a bowl configuration. And a bowl configuration in astrology is a very intense and powerful thing. Any planet that opposes that bottom of the bowl, that U shape that you have at the end of the bowl where all those planets are lined up, is dragging the energy outward, and that's Jupiter in Cancer right now. So look and see again where Cancer is in your chart, where Jupiter is in your charts, because that's activating this whole bowl of planets. So what is the bowl configuration and Jupiter in Cancer asking us? This is what it's asking us. Where am I being asked to focus my emotional energy for the next 6 months? If where you are right now isn't where you want to be, where does your energy have to focus in the next 6 months to get you where you want to be? And we're talking emotional energy. What does emotional safety look like for you now? Not the old version of yourself, but the version that you're bringing forward in 2026. What does emotional security mean for you? What is it for you? Can you find it within yourself? This is all the Cancer energy pulling on those planets. And what am I ready to nurture into long-term growth? What is it that I really need to nurture and take responsibility for in order to get to where I want to be 6 months from now? And then, like I said, Chiron, that planet of the wounds that we bring in to be healed in this lifetime, that's going direct in Aries at the same time. What is that asking of us? It's asking of us, where do you want to reclaim space in your life? Aries is an energy that gives us the opportunity to take up space. It's new, it's rebirth. And next month, we have Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries. It's the end of a 165-year cycle and complete rebirth. It's a complete brand new start in the charts for all of us. So Chiron direct in that energy in Aries is asking us, where do I need to reclaim space in my life? Where do I want to take up space? Where is it that I really want to be in my life? What action can I do to represent my healing now? And you can watch this video over and over. It goes on all podcast platforms, Spotify, my YouTube channel, Zenkuda. You can even ask Amazon Alexa to play The Soul Space with Georgia Rose. It's all there. So you can play this over and over again if you need it to, give you these prompts. Chiron Direct also asks, what identity am I stepping into that I've been afraid to claim? That people pleasing, what's the fear? Judgment? Someone won't like you? Get to that place where your desire to take up space where you really want to take it up is bigger than your fear of not doing it. What identity am I stepping into that I've been afraid to claim? And we all have them. I know for me in relationships, sometimes I'm a passenger a lot of the time. And a lot of people wouldn't think that because I'm a pretty, successful and, independent person. But in relationship, especially romantic relationships, I'm very traditional. And I have a tendency to be the passenger and not speak up. And this last couple of years, I've changed that and I speak my mind and I create an equal partnership by doing that. And I was always afraid to speak up. My upbringing did not teach me that. I grew up in a very Italian cultural house where, my sisters and I were almost subservient to our brothers. And so I was taught, you don't make waves. And now I speak my mind, but I do it in a very loving way. And it's really broadened all of the relationships in my life to bring them to really healthy places. So what identity am I stepping into that I've been afraid to claim? And then all of these things in Capricorn, all of these planets, the sun, Mercury, Mars, Venus, which is going to go into Aquarius on the 20th. What are they saying to us? They're saying to us, where are your long-term commitments? Where's the structure in your life? Like, what do you need to commit to and bring structure to? Where do your desires, Venus, match your drive, Mars? And how can you put them together to give you purpose, the sun? Right? Your desires, Venus. Your drive, Mars. And your purpose, the sun. Link them all up in that Capricorn energy, the mountain goat that climbs the mountain and gets to the top. So what structure do you need to work on? What discipline do you need to work on right now that's going to support your evolution for this whole year? You really want to think about that. Sometimes it's simple things. We just don't do them. So January 17th to the 20th, that's when truth will be revealed. If you have to have important conversations, if it's with someone that can be a little bit reactive or aggressive, I wouldn't do it then. But if you think you can have a loving conversation with somebody, it's a good time to do it because truth will prevail. The truth is going to come out either way, but it's definitely going to be starting to prevail around the 17th to 20th. And also look at people's emotional reactions. Really kind of study them, observe them from afar. You don't have to get entangled in them because people's emotional reactions are actually going to tell you exactly what needs to be changed. When you see the way people react to things, you know what needs to be changed. We can look at it right in the face and go, yeah, that's not where I need to be. Or, wow, they have a really good point. I should think about that more. So just, step back and be the observer without having to get entangled in it. So the Aquarius stellium now, because the planets that are in Capricorn are going to start moving into Aquarius. I have the dates for that stuff. Just got to find it. Hold on. I'll give you the dates. So all those planets, when they start going into Aquarius, Aquarius is a really futuristic energy. Aquarius is the energy of the pioneer, of technology, of moving things forward. It's the uniqueness. It's I want to embrace my purple dinosaur hat because I think it's really cool and I don't care what you think. That's Aquarius. Aquarius is your future self. So when all those planets that have been in Capricorn giving us the desire and the drive and lighting it up with the sun, right? Now they're going to start to slowly go into Aquarius during the last half of the month. And that's going to make us start to think about, what does my future self really want? What do I have to do to be in alignment with my future self? Neptune enters Aries. This is spiritual fire. Neptune in Aries is the place where the planet where we dream and have imagination. And I always hear Gene Wilder in my head, singing that song about imagination, right? And from the movie. And it's about we can dream anything in Neptune because Neptune is unbound. It's got no limitations. But Neptune is also, rules Pisces. And if you have a lot of Pisces in your chart, sometimes you can become unbound. You won't have boundaries. A lot of Pisces is addiction energy because there's no boundaries. We just want to float, right? But now Saturn is next to Neptune and they're going into Aries. So this is that spiritual fire, that imagination, that connection with other realms and other worldliness with structure of Saturn. So we can actually dream in life and breathe fire into our imagination and our dreams and our hopes and our wishes. Isn't that just the coolest thing? And they unite in Aries on February 20th at 0 degrees of Aries. A whole new start to our imagination, our dreams, our wishes, that we can put structure and anything we want into the world and breathe the reality into it. So then what's going to happen as those planets come into Aquarius and conjunct Pluto, they'll all be conjuncting Pluto at a certain time. And Pluto is our soul's desire. So I'll be with you telling you all about that stuff and probably do some videos on the YouTube channel. But the only other thing I want to talk to you about, well, it's actually two things. Mars conjuncting Pluto, which is what's going to happen also towards the end of the month, that's power and transformation. And that's really when we have to watch out on the global scale about, when Mars conjuncts Pluto, what that's going to be like. Like, what is that going to emit out in the world? Because Mars joining Pluto can be an energy of combustion. It can be an energy of that, and that's on the 27th of January. It can be an energy of like kaboom, because Mars is the god of war and Pluto is death and transformation. But it can also be really, really deep awakening, like being assertive about our awakening, assertive about seeing the truth. So it could go either way, but it's definitely on the 27th of January, power and transformation. The 26th of January is when Neptune enters Aries, and we finally get some structure. You're going to think about all those things that you wish and hope and dream in your imagination. How can I give them structure to my life and make them take space in reality? And then we have Mercury conjuncting Venus on January 29th. That's all heart-centered clarity. When Mercury and Venus come together, it's a great time for conversations. That's on the 29th. It's a great time to write, journal, make music, because it's a time when your communication and your mind is really in alignment with your desire and your passion. And so that's, a great time. What conversations do I need to have from a place of truth and love? If there's something you needed to say to someone that you've never said. I was recently at a wake and I went up to someone that is a long-term person in my life. And I just said to them, I'm really glad you're in my life. You've been an important source in my life. And it wasn't meant as they were an important source of comfort or love. They were an important source, and I made them feel very nice that I said that. But I felt it because they were one of my greatest teachers. They really, sometimes in a not easy way, made me come to terms with a lot of things in my life that I needed to learn. And so you always want to come from a place of truth and love when you're talking about things, especially on a day like the 29th is perfect for it, coming off a day like the 27th of January. The way which was Mars conjunct Pluto, that god of war meets transformation. When I look at this and I see the calendar, we've got on the 23rd of January, we've got Mars entering Aquarius. So Mars is really changing energy. It's going from structure, strategy, deep methodical thinking in Capricorn to Aquarius, future, zoom, boom, pioneering, ain't no mountain high enough kind of energy. So that is going to be real. You're going to wake up on the morning of the 23rd. You're going to feel that. And then we have the sun conjuncting Pluto as well, as soon as Mars goes into Aquarius. So the sun is at 3 degrees of Aquarius, Pluto is at 3 degrees of Aquarius, and Mars just entered into Aquarius. So that is a lot of combustion. So those days of the 23rd to the 26th or so, 27th, when Mars goes right next to Pluto, really volatile days. Anything can happen. But then on the 29th, we have this beautiful energy of Mercury conjuncting Venus. So to me, it's going to be like rough day, rough day, rough day, maybe a lot of news, a lot of communication, a lot of things unexpectedly happening. And then all of a sudden the energy calms down and brings us into our compassion, our empathy. So, who knows what's going to happen, but Of course, some of us do, but I won't say it on the show. But you want to ask yourself, in using the energy to move forward, because it is Aquarius and Aquarius is all about the future, that would be the days, the 23rd to the 29th, when maybe you want to contemplate, how can I communicate more authentically in 2026? What idea or inspiration is ready for me to express it? Do I need to sing the song, write the book, or just talk to my partner realistically, say something to a sibling that I have never revealed before? That's the kind of energy it is. So to recap, I'm going to recap because we went over a lot of stuff, because January is just chuck full. So I got my dates here. Look at all this paper I did for you guys. I don't usually do all this, but it was a very big start to the year. So January 6th, Sun conjunct Venus. That's the day that you really want to make sure that you are, thinking about your goals, doing your stuff, because you're going to really see a lot of energy on that day that is useful. When the Sun conjuncts Venus, our deepest desires align with our energy, our soul. January 8th, Venus conjuncts Mars, 18 degrees of Capricorn. Look and see where Capricorn is in your charts, guys. That's where most of this stuff is happening. Then the opposition in the chart is the Jupiter and Cancer energy, which is pulling it all forward. So Venus conjunct Mars on the 8th, that's a great energy for getting things done. You're going to feel energetic. January 9th, the Sun conjunct Mars at 19 degrees Capricorn. So now we've got Venus, the Sun, and Mars all jumbled up in there. That is amazing energy and benevolent energy. It's good energy for doing good stuff. January 10th, Venus, Mars, all those planets are all opposite Jupiter. It's awesome energy to motivate yourself for what you want 2026 to look like. And then January 17th through 20th, we've got the signs of things to come starts coming out. Reactions, watch what happens. Reactions to lies, deceptions, gravity. We've got Venus going into Aquarius. Saturn and Uranus are having a conversation. Mars and Uranus are having a conversation. Mars trines Saturn. All this really, think of like a sea just being stirred up, the ocean just being stirred up. And then on the 20th, the Sun enters Aquarius. And now we have all that energy that was mixed up in Capricorn is starting to get mixed up, all making the soup stir in Aquarius. January 23rd, Mars enters Aquarius. Now we've got a lot of that bowl of planets is moving. The bowl's shifting like a dial turning into Aquarius. Think of it like a dial turning on a timer. You know how the timer feels like it jumps just before it gets to zero? It's like tick, 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 boom, tick, right? That's what this energy is going to be like over the next month, up until February 20th, when in Aries, we have Neptune and Saturn right on top of each other at 0 degrees of Aries. Blast off 165 years of energy, redo, recycle. The clock gets reset again. The dial gets set back. Gorgeous energy to change our lives, to do what we want to really do. And then I just went over the 26th to the 29th. And like I said, you can play this video over and over again throughout the month so that you get, and then I will be here next Monday. We'll talk about that week specifically. And every step of the way, I'm here to give you exactly what you need in order to get through 2026 and really, really make the best of it. Want to leave you with a couple of affirmations. And I think I'm just going to leave you with just one. How's that sound? Because it's a simple one. What is this all about in a nutshell? This is what you have to write at the top of the page in your journal and answer. What seed am I planting in January that my future self will thank me for in 2026? And you're going to have an amazing year if you stick to that. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching The Soul Space tonight. I have to thank my producer, Bobby. He really got me to come into the studio tonight. I wasn't going to do it because my voice was really hurting, but it got a little better as the time went on. Maybe I just need to use it more. And imagine that. I need to use my voice more, Bobby. But I love you guys, and this is the energy that I source my life from. I'm going to just look in my comments really quick in case I got to answer any question for anybody. Sherry says she wishes us all a beautiful year ahead. It's going to be amazing. She can feel it. I can feel it too. I haven't been this excited about a year in a really, really long time. So I just want to give a shout out to all of you guys. I know there's a few people on tonight, but everyone who supports my work, thank you so much, because just trying to put love where there is none, and that's in everyone's hearts. So step into the soul space. Check me out on Zakuta.com if you want a personal reading. Subscribe to all my stuff. We're going to have a great year in this community, and we are going to egg each other on and spur each other on and support each other the evolution that we really need to be living a peaceful, beautiful life. So thank you so much. You can find me on Zencuda Soul Space, on Zencuda Official on Instagram, and of course, Zencuda.com. If you want to book a personal reading, you can do it right there on the site. Thanks so much, guys. I love you all, and I'll see you next week at 7 o'clock right here. Share the show. Share the show.